Here we go. Hello, everyone. Hi. Hello, Craig. Welcome back. You're not working tonight? How lovely. Hello, Paul and Roz. Welcome back. Missed you last week. Kate, Sarah, all the tricks. How are you? Great to be back. We're all ready to go. 2 wines for me. Some of you may only have Beaujolais. Some of you may have Beaujolais and a half bottle of 2020 Moorooduc Estate Pinot Noir. Whatever you have in front of you. Hello, Michael. Good to see you. Hopefully I'm live. Am I live? Is this working? Let me know if you're having trouble with the reception. We've had some new wires put in. Oh, good. Excellent. Bye, Pete. Pete's off, beeping at us from outside. So this is our guest wine tonight. And our guest wine is the Domaine Metrat et Fils Fleury from Beaujolais. La Roilette. So hopefully you guys enjoy this wine as much as I have. I tasted it late last year. It's brought into Australia by Vintage and Vine, who happen to sell our wine in Melbourne as well. So that's how I got onto it. Every now and again I get Ian, who is state manager down here, to put together a little box of fun things for me to taste. And this was in, and I thought it was pretty delicious. I also thought it would be fun for a couple of reasons, and I'll get onto that in a minute. I thought it would be fun to have a look at some Gamay, partly because red Burgundy is getting more and more expensive and harder to access. Affordable red Burgundy that's delicious to drink, particularly when it's young. So it's a bit of an issue. And Gamay is the other grape variety of Burgundy. And for a long time in the history of Burgundy, there was Gamay planted all the way up through traditional Burgundy. Excuse me. Got the sneezes again. I hope it's just the cat was sitting on the table just before, so hopefully it's just his hair that's making me sneeze. Gamay, as a grape variety, was grown all the way through Burgundy, and Pinot Noir was grown all the way through Burgundy, and Beaujolais, which is to the south of the Côte d'Or and the Côte de Nuit and the Côte de Beaune, Beaujolais was regarded as part of Burgundy. Hello, Jack and Zach and Hannah. How are you going? Hello, Connie and John. Good to see you. Oh, Connie, well done. We don't have any of the Moorooduc Estate Verjus, so we had to use some of Dad's homemade vinegar, and Mum is finishing off the chicken. She did it in little bits. I think they're called chicken niblets or something. They're on the bone. They're like I think it's the sort of the second bit of the wing. Anyway, well, they'll be coming out in a little while. So I think that'll be yum. And yeah, Gamay. I'm going to put some in the glass and then I'll keep talking about it. So in the glass, I didn't really think I would bother decanting it. You can if you want to. Hello, Anne. How you going? Chicken snags. Fantastic. Good work. It's a young wine. It's also a cru Beaujolais, which means it comes from one of the designated vineyard sites within Beaujolais where the high quality Beaujolais comes from. And this one is Fleury, which translates as flowery, and as in flowers. And it always tends to be a perfume style of Beaujolais. It can have some structure, and you'll see that this wine has got quite good structure, but it tends to be softer and a bit more approachable than some of the other cru Beaujolais. So that's it's, as I said, it's a wine I tasted sort of randomly last year in a mixed box that I thought was delicious, and so I thought I would like to share it with you guys this year. So I'll just pop that over there because Dad's sitting there patiently with his Moorooduc Estate Pinot Noir in one glass and no Beaujolais in the other glass. So I have So this says Pinot Noir 2021 because you'll remember last week we had our half bottle of 2021 and I drank that, we drank that and put half a bottle of 2020 Estate Pinot Noir in here. So I'm going to put that in my left-hand glass. We are not going to get confused this week with the two wines because the Moorooduc Estate Pinot Noir is much paler than the Gamay, which has got much deeper colour. So that's easy. Now, apparently, according to Linda, who's not watching tonight because she had something else on, apparently I have a catchphrase that I wasn't aware of. I don't think I used it tonight, but as I'm not aware of it, I maybe did. But I got a prize at the end of last year from Linda, who does the awards at Moorooduc Estate. And apparently my catchphrase is, let's get some wine into this glass. So I have a special drinks with Kate. Let's get this wine into this glass. Let's get some wine into this glass. Drinks with Kate glass. That's my trophy. I'm not sure whether I'll ever be able to drink wine out of it because it's too precious, but there we go. So I've already got some wine into 2 glasses now. We'll see. We can maybe play. We can play. Has Kate used her catchphrase yet? In future Drinks with Kate games. Hello, Andrew and Alison. How lovely to see you. Okay, Jackie, I made chicken pie for you. It's true. I know. As soon as she said it, I went, oh yeah, I do say that a bit, don't I? Anyway, so Craig is getting straight to the crux of the argument and asking, does Gamay like a similar climate to Pinot Noir? It does. Gamay is a little bit more forgiving than Pinot Noir. Pinot Noir being, as I think it was Josh Jensen coined it, the especially grape. It's a grape that for every other grape where there's a little bit of a problem or also something that we like about it, it's always especially so for Pinot Noir. So Pinot Noir tends to be especially fussy and especially charming. Gamay is a little bit more robust, can make some fairly inexpensive, easy drinking style of wine where Pinot Noir not so much. Gamay can handle being cropped at much higher levels and still produce fruit that has good flavours and good balance, whereas Pinot doesn't handle being overcropped. It just falls apart and you get very, very light, thin, unpleasant wine. Thanks, Karen. Yeah, Linda's very good at that sort of insight, I think, picking up on things like that, and she always gets me a doozy at the work Christmas party, which is always lovely. So Gamay was regarded over the years as being maybe Pinot Noir's less special cousin by a lot of people, and it's one of the reasons that it got banned from the northern part of Burgundy that we now call Burgundy, and was relegated down to Beaujolais, which, as I said before, was also part of Burgundy in the early days for a lot of its history. And they separated out, probably not much more than 100, 150 years ago. I haven't done my reading on that. So it might have been a little bit longer ago than that, but it hasn't been that long. Oh, Alison, okay, I'll sit back and try not to crackle too much. I'm a little bit crackly in the voice as well. I seem to be a little heady, so that might also not be helping the clarity of my speech at the moment. Anyway, I will do my best to be clear. Cotty is asking if the Gamay is a little smoky. I haven't stuck my nose in it yet. And I hadn't noticed it being smoky last time. Not my voice. Okay, thanks, Alison. It does have an earthy, slightly kind of dried, leafy, yes, I would say almost smoky kind of character to it, Cotty. You can see, I mean, obviously we're looking at 2 wines that come from the same vintage. They're both from 2020. But you can see that the Pinot, and they're also from 2 very different parts of the world, or 2 opposite parts of the world. Australian wine is always going to be a little fruitier, a little more perfumed, a little bit more fruit forward, whereas French wine is almost always going to be a little earthier, a little bit more savoury. But I think that you also see that difference in the 2 grape varieties. Pinot Noir has that sort of lifted perfume. Gamay tends to have sort of slightly stronger floral perfumes, particularly coming from Fleury. But it also can have higher acid and slightly chunkier tannins. And depending on what levels you're cropping Gamay at, then you get very different styles of wines. So Michael, you're saying you've always associated Beaujolais with very light wine of no interest. Absolutely. Well, that's, the history of Beaujolais, because Gamay will allow you to overcrop it and still make okay wine. A lot of Beaujolais that went out into the world was cheap, and I guess someone who was wanting to market it would call it cheap and cheerful. Someone who wasn't that interested would probably call it uninteresting. They can be quite light. They can be quite bubblegummy because of the winemaking, but they can have not very much personality. When you get to Beaujolais like this, which is not a super expensive wine, this would retail for maybe $45, $50 a bottle. It's a really lovely example of what good wine can be made from a grape variety that's maybe a bit estimated and underrepresented in the quality wine market. So I think that's one of the reasons that I wanted us to have this Beaujolais tonight, to sort of bust those myths a little bit. Craig, okay, so the Goodman household is agreeing with Cotty that the Gamay's got a little bit of smokiness to it. I agree. It's got a smokiness, but also like as I said before, dried leaf kind of forest floor kind of savouriness to it, which I think is rather lovely. And the Gamay is delicious. I think it's delicious as well. I haven't even put it in my mouth yet, so I'll do that in a minute. But Sonia, I'm glad you're enjoying the chicken and both the wines. Excellent. So who's made that? So Cotty and John are having the poulet au vinaigre. Sonia is also having, are you having the, did you make the recipe that I sent out, or are you having chicken done a different way? I hope that you're enjoying your snacks. They're working with the wine, because the other thing that a lot of people say about Gamay, and Gamay is really super fashionable in America, particularly in New York and California and that kind of thing. They say, sommeliers and wine waiters in the US particularly say, Gamay's really good as a very versatile food wine. So when I was looking up, classic matches with Gamay and with Fleury particularly, the really classic kind of French match is with a French roast chicken or chicken pie, or the poulet au vinaigre that I sent you the recipe for, something chickeny. And that's because even though the wine's got some nice weight and some nice structure, it doesn't really want to be matched to heavy food, because it has a perfume, it has a lightness,